It's insane to actually go through your life and think that is a good way to parent. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
And the fact that she thinks that she's in the right there.
It's none of our business. 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 It's none of our business.
Hey everybody, welcome to the It's Really None of Our Business podcast. I'm Monica and this is Amanda.
Hi, this is a show where we open a cheap bottle of wine and we're going to attempt to solve the problems of the world, Monica.
We always do. And what kind of problems we got today, Amanda?
I don't know if we have so much of a problem. I wanted to talk to you about when you and Greg are hanging out in a social situation.
Yeah.
And if has he ever kind of like paid more attention to a different female in the room than you? How does that happen?
I think that Greg is very cognizant that not to do that.
Oh.
So he's a smart guy. Like if he's told you before, he's been married 3 times.
Yeah.
So he knows all the tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't do that. And I think that I'm more likely to do that.
Okay.
Like I have been known to be very flirty, and people have been very flirty with me, and Greg is great with it. Like he just goes, "Oh fuck, there goes Monica again." But
does he ever show signs of jealousy, like, you know, getting upset, or all of a sudden he's in the conversation because he wants to know what you guys are talking about? Or...
No, like he's so good. Like he's just so good. Like I've had guys come in and sit on my lap and like dry hump me from behind, and he just sort of goes, whatever.
So do you think that's because of a trust thing? Like he just trusts you, or?
I don't know if I think I'm going to say that I think that he does trust me, but he's also someone who's more of a cautious observer. Like I see Greg as somebody who, if you piss him off, like if I do things that really bother him, he's just gonna hold it and hold it and hold it until he goes, okay, I'm out, bitch. Like that's gonna be his strategy.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so he's always sort of done this. I'm not telling you what to do. You need to do you.
But don't fucking make the wrong decision.
Yes. And that's kind of it, which is really interesting to me because in my previous relationship, like I said, I've always been a very flirty person, and it was the exact opposite response. So, for instance, I'd have to watch everything I said, everything that, like every move that I made. Like, for instance, I was on a ferry. Like, I used to live in BC, so we're on a ferry, and I've seen this girlfriend of mine who I hadn't seen in a while, and she's very affectionate, and she's very French. So she comes up to me and does the whole kiss on both cheeks thing.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't talk to me for a week because...
Your female friend kissed you on the cheek?
Yeah. And so... And while it's happening, I'm like, he's watching, oh my God. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
How is that even? That's like giving somebody a hug.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
What was his excuse for being mad at you?
Oh, he was just so mad that I was flirting with her.
That is insane abuse.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy that was like, you just said that's like a normal thing that happened in your relationship.
Yes.
That's actually fucked up.
Yeah. Okay. And then when there was this one time so it's Halloween, and you know how we all like to dress like a whore?
Well, that's... one of the best things about Halloween.
That's the best part. So I was dressed, I think, as a devil. So, but it's like
a slutty devil.
Of course. So it's like I've got red paint on and long hair, and I've got the boobs up really high. And I have these 2 gay friends, or a gay male couple.
Okay. And
so he comes up to me, like, we're all just drunk, and he's like, you got the greatest boobs. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, well, can I have a feel? And I'm like, well, of course you can, right? So he's like, oh, these are the best. You know, come on, Frank, feel these boobs. And he's like, they are great, you know? Like, and then it was like moving on, and I'm like, don't think about it again. Like, because I'm like, of course you can feel my boobs.
It'd be like letting me feel it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, if you want to feel them, you can too. I'm sure you're good.
You know how many people I've let feel my boobs? Like,
I know. And it's like, okay, so then I get home, and he is livid. Like, he's calling me a whore. He's calling me every name in the book. And you know the way that I am, I'm like completely logical, and I'm thinking, okay, what do you think my intention was?
Yeah.
Like, do you think my intention was like, oh my God, this feels so good. I'm creaming my
Yeah.
pants that this gay man wants to touch my boobs.
Yeah.
My intention was just like, oh, this is science. This is like,
And it was like, I feel good about myself right now. I'm in a good mood. Like this,
Yeah.
like it's just like a fun thing. Like it doesn't have to always be sexual. Like
no. And so when you're in a relationship where somebody wants to control you, sex is something that they can manipulate you. And so basically, I felt like a piece of shit most of the time. Or either that or you're just hiding your nature.
Yeah.
And of course, my nature always comes out when I'm drinking.
So then it would be like somebody was asked to touch your boobs. You look around to make sure he's not watching or somehow he's not going to find out. But you're like, well, you can touch him. Just don't tell anyone.
well, I mean, then I would just, I mean, it's not that happens very
No.
often. That's sort of a one-off.
Totally.
But then you're just very cautious not to talk to his male friends, not to make eye contact with like it's ridiculous. And I think that you're much better just to be yourself. And if you do get a little flirty when you're drinking, as long as it doesn't go too far, like I think that even if Greg was, I don't know, I think I'm a bit more jealous than Greg, so I don't know, he doesn't do it
I
at
think
all.
you are too.
Yeah, like I think it's okay for me, but I don't think it's okay for him.
It's an interesting double standard. And like, I definitely.
Do you feel the same?
Well, I've had lots of times where we were a lot younger and let's say we were at a party or something, right? And I look over and I see Karsten like paying attention to one of my friends. Like he's a really like kind of playful drunk or whatever. And let's say he like picked one of them up or something and like threw them or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I remember being like, what the fuck? Like why? Why would you need to touch her right now? Like for what reason? Like leave her alone, whatever, right? But now that I'm a little older, and not that I don't think we'd be in a situation with that, but let's say we're at a group event and he's like really talking to somebody and making her laugh and what you would consider like flirting or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I somehow now, because I'm like, well, I know he's my person. I actually, especially if it's like one of my girlfriends, I'm like, I
feel that way too.
I like that he's making one of my friends laugh. I like that he's, and maybe she's like, oh, this guy's funny. Okay, now she thinks my husband's funny. That means I've got good status. It's like kind of like an ego thing. I'm like, I actually I'm not, like, I don't think it's that bad. Obviously, there's lines that can be crossed, and I think that I'm thinking of it as a purely innocent way. Yeah. But I just think it's so weird to be jealous over something like that when I think it's actually kind of like, okay, well, other people want you. That makes me want you more, right? Because if you know your husband just going through life and everybody's kind of like, whatever, there he is, who cares? Yeah. You're like, okay, whatever, there he is, who cares? But if you know other people think he's funny, other people think he's like got interesting stories, I'm like, wow, yeah, he does. And then all of a sudden I'm a little more into him. And I feel even that way with myself sometimes. Like if I'm getting attention from other people, I'm like, oh, I feel a little more attractive.
Sure you do.
And then I go home and I want to have sex with Karsten.
Exactly.
So I think it's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
And one of the the reason that I bring this up is because I was recently hanging out with some friends and there was a guy there who was he was on his phone the whole night, and it turns out he was talking to this girl that he had met on Tinder. They had never met in real life before, but where we were, he was like, I don't know, maybe a 5-minute drive from where she was. So he's drunk and she's going, well, why don't you come over or whatever, right? So we were having this conversation, but he was kind of like too drunk. So my friend grabs, the male friend grabs his phone and starts texting this girl for him, right? Just to kind of be like, we were trying to say, don't go over there. Your first time meeting her, you don't need to be hammered. That's a terrible first impression.
Yeah.
But so a friend of mine is texting this random stranger, and he is married. He's been married a long time. He's probably having fun with it. Like he's not like pretending to. Well, he was pretending to be the guy, but
he's not the guy, and the conversation will end as soon as the phone goes back.
Exactly. So it was like fun and exciting for him.
I would do that
totally, and it's like just a way to kind of like get your. I don't know. It's like a way of flirting, but like safely, right?
Yeah.
But then the icing on the cake is like, so then, okay, Buddy's phone is no longer with him, and he's talking to the friend's wife now, and they're just talking. Yeah. Like nothing inappropriate was happening at all, but everybody's drinking. So she's kind of hanging on him. They're laughing, like whatever, right? My friend looks up from the phone, what are you guys doing? Like, get off of each other. And he's like getting kind of jealous about it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going, you're texting a random girl right now. She's in front of you. Like, it's not like they're hiding in a bathroom cuddling. They're having a conversation. They're having this bonding moment. she's getting a little bit of attention from him. You're getting a little bit of attention from
Did he give her trouble for it later? Because I know you're close friends with her.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't actually.
Ah, okay.
I bet.
Yeah.
But I just thought it kind of, I was like, so then I said to him, I'm like, why do you care about this? I'm like, you're texting somebody right now. He's like, well, it's just weird. Like, why does she have to be on him? I'm like, fair enough. Like, she doesn't have to
was she sitting on his lap?
No,
and
she was just
grinding?
sitting next to him. Of like, you know, like they were like looking at something or talking about something, or they were just drunk. And I'm like, sometimes it's kind of fun to like feel a little like attention from other people.
If you're really having an affair with your husband's friend, you're not going to be hanging on him and shit. You're going to be hiding it and like, you know, meet me in the kitchen. Do you need another beer?
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that people need to like fucking just relax.
I know.
Right?
But then again, so it's easy to say this stuff, kind of like, you know, if my husband were to get a happy ending, I wouldn't think it was cheating. But if it were to happen, I actually probably would be a little like, what the fuck about it? So it's like easy to say these things until it happens to you. But I think in this situation, I'm like, give him attention. You can show a little, there's like the line though. Too much attention towards somebody else would be okay enough. Like, why do you have...
I think you need to read your partner's cues too, which may be difficult to do when you're drunk. So if you were hanging over one of his friends and he gives you this look, like, you know, that look, like, that's the look that Greg would give me, like, then it'd be like, okay, you know, he's uncomfortable, I'm pushing a line,
this too far,
you know, so I think that's okay. So I think that something that I keep thinking about is like friendship is fine, like if you're in a group of friends, because I definitely flirt with my girlfriends' husbands all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't say, hey, we should do a threesome, but...
How do you flirt with them? Like, what kind of flirting?
Like, sort of the same thing that you're talking about with like laughing at the same joke, or like I could have this conversation with him alone. Like, we could be sitting in the kitchen and there'd be a lot of laughing and a lot of... Do you know what I mean?
Okay, but so... That's the thing. Is to me, that's just connecting and having a conversation with somebody, and that could be a female or a male. Flirting is different. I think flirting, because you said you flirt with them, but what you're saying doesn't sound like flirting to me. Flirting is more of a like flicking your hair, and I want him to think I'm sexy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I do know, and I think that I have done that in my past relationship, to be honest with you. Like, when my relationship was done and, you know, we got to the end of like, I'm just so fucking tired of you. Then I was definitely doing things like making eye contact too long. Like, you know, like you're in the bar.
See, that's flirting.
You're in the bar with somebody and you're dancing and they're dancing. They may even be dancing with their own partner. And then you just do that whole thing where you connect eyes and don't let go. Like, that is, you've done nothing, but
that's, See, to me, that's different than sharing a joke or an inside, you know, a laugh or a story.
And I'm more likely, that's where I am now. But I have to say that in my past life, like, you know, where my husband was constantly accusing me of being a whore, you eventually just go, you know what? Like, I'm just going to be one then. And that's as far as my whoreness went. But, but then there was definitely like this sort of like, you know, like. I
think that is a good, that's something that you need, that would differentiate how mad I would be, right? It's like if it's
if you saw that
flirting, because that's the... Fair enough. Okay, so I'm going to go back, because originally at the beginning of this, I think we were saying, like, it's okay to flirt with people in front of your partner.
But
I don't know.
Not really. Is it? It's just like giving somebody too much attention. Okay, and so so what I was going to say was, when you're with your friend group and you are spending time talking to their husband and you're drinking and you're laughing, I'm totally fine with that. But what about if it's a coworker situation? So you're in a situation with him and his coworkers, say Christmas party or whatever, and you see he's paying a lot of attention to a female coworker. This to me is like, I would get my red flags up right away. Yeah. You know?
Definitely, because they spend a lot of time together, most likely.
Alone.
Yeah. And you're not usually there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think is, and if you can see that they've got this connection and that they're sort of trying to downplay because you're around her, that's not good.
Like that would be, and I think that happens frequently, and that's what happens is like you develop a relationship with somebody in a work setting where you're with them 8 hours a day, and then you start saying things like, oh, things aren't that good at home, and you know what I mean, then the relationship goes to a level of friendship.
Yeah.
Where I personally think male coworker relationships should stay on the surface level of we are coworkers.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I see what you're saying for sure. Because if
Yeah.
you become too invested in their lives,
Well,
or
then it's
whatever,
like, well, let's go for drinks after work. You know?
Yeah. No, I
And which is fine as long as it's you and everybody else. But if
Yeah.
it's just you and
Yeah. Yeah. No,
You
I see
know.
what you're saying. Absolutely, for sure.
yeah.
It's
What do you think about that?
I actually totally agree. I'm just kind of like thinking right now because we've got a group of friends, and I think I'm like friendly with the guys in our group, and we'll have little inside jokes, or one of my friends, oh, you look really nice today, but it's never like in a flirty way. But I think that's what makes me feel safe and fine with our behavior.
Even if your girlfriend's husband said, "Holy fuck, man, you're hot," you can go, "Yeah, I know."
That's true. Yeah.
Because his wife is beside him,
And because we know each other as a couple. But I think what you're saying is if you're having these innocent flirty relationships with somebody that your partner is not close with, then it's not innocent anymore.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not the same. So if you're, like I said, if Greg says to you, "Oh, nice ass," like then I could say,
I'll bend over and
you're like, "Look at me twerk."
I've been doing squats.
But if it's a coworker who says nice ass, all of a sudden it's like, oh, what
I think
what do you mean?
that's right there what the issue is. It's because at the beginning I said, are you okay watching your partner flirt or whatever? It depends.
It depends on who he's flirting with.
Who he's flirting with. Yeah.
Yeah, because not okay with somebody I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Totally okay with somebody that I know, because then I'd have two people betraying me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, then I'd be like, what? Like,
yeah. And I don't know, I can tell.
There's a vibe.
Lucky for me, Karsten has no game. Like, even when he was single in his younger days, like, he wasn't out trying to pick up chicks. He was out, like, smoking weed and skateboarding. Like,
It's so fucking sexy. I can't tell you.
I'm jealous of my man. But this, like, he was like, I never bought a girl a drink at the bar. Never. Not one time. He's like, I was at the bar to hang out with my friends. Like, he was not trying to pick up chicks. And he's like, I'm not wasting money on some girl I don't know. Like, so, and so it's like, obviously, he's probably picked up more game in his life, but I'm like, I'm not worried that he's out flirting with strangers.
Well, he's got you.
Yeah, well.
He's got you.
Exactly.
Honestly, okay, like a man, often they say cheats when he's not getting sex. A woman cheats when she's sad and lonely, like when she's like not emotionally neglected. That's when a woman cheats, and a man cheats when he's not getting any. Like that, I don't know if that's completely true.
Yeah, totally. Or if they just want like different kind of sex. Or...
Okay. Like, I don't know if we've ever talked about it on this show, but I believe that men and women, like it's sort of like back to the lizard brain. Men want to be needed. They want to be like, you need to just tell your man that he's important and he's needed and he's valued, and have sex with him, and he's not going to cheat.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's not completely true. Like, there are pieces of shit out there.
Or like sometimes shit just gets out of hand and like people make mistakes too. Like there's those kind of
That
but
happens
it's like the
too.
long drawn out affairs that are kind of like And how do you have time for that? That's what I don't get.
Yeah, how do you have time for an affair?
Like, I think sometimes Carson will be like working or whatever, working late. I'm like, are you? But then he comes home like stinky and wearing work clothes. I'm like, okay, like,
it's funny, how we're all, our antennas are always up, like, but
do these stories line up? And
but men would do the same thing.
100%.
Yeah.
Although it used to kind of bug me that Karsten wasn't jealous, because like I would, like he literally lets me do whatever I want. I'll be like, oh yeah, this guy said this to me, and he's like, oh, like he's like not like, who is he? Where is he? Like, I'm like, do you not care about me? But I don't know if I've ever really gotten an answer. Maybe he just doesn't care.
I think that what he's saying is that he trusts you.
Yeah.
But
even when we were like a brand new relationship, like he didn't know how to trust me back then.
But it is so nice to not have a guy do that. I mean, to me, that is if...
I can't believe your ex got mad that a girl kissed you on the cheek.
Oh,
that seems really crazy.
We've had this conversation before about my ex, but it got so. I wonder if it just became like a control issue, and he found the things that he could control me with, and that was like, I used to say that he used to try to make me small so that he could be big.
Yeah.
Like, and I could actually feel myself. Like, you feel yourself shrinking when somebody's like piece of shit. you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Look at you, you're a whore. And then you're like, oh, am I? Like it becomes that you hear it enough. You're like, yeah, I really should learn to behave. I'm such a piece of shit. And then, you'd see his shoulders go back and like I physically remember seeing that, and I told him what he's doing, and he was just silent, and he was like,
shit, you're on to me.
yeah. So I think it became a control issue.
How have you not done therapy after being in that relationship? Because that's got to have fucked you up. Like, honestly, like to be married, like you knew him since you were 12.
Yeah.
And then how many, you guys were together over 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be emotionally abused like that. Like the whole thing with the kissing of the cheek, like that is imagine Greg were to get mad. You'd be like, you're mad at me for what now? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't even make
Greg
sense.
was like, do you got any more?
Yeah.
Got some tongue in
that's
there?
Literally that's like a handshake essentially
yes.
Like how
it is a handshake.
The fact that he was I can't, like, I'm gonna think about that forever. Like that is just and like the fact that you like let him be mad at you for that. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
It is it is true. And I just sort of lived my whole life trying to not get in trouble. That's what you do, because he was just so good at it. Like, and I can't even describe
manipulated
it.
The shit out of you.
He did, and he was so good at making me feel like a piece of shit. And he would do things like, once he was angry with me, he would just not talk to me.
Like that's like punishment.
He would just punish me for days and days and days, and I'm like, I can't handle this.
So would you kiss his ass and
yeah,
make him cupcakes,
like
and
anything?
blowjobs?
There was no sex, so no blowjobs, but anything to make this tension go away. Like I couldn't stand it. Like
so you like seeking his approval, and it's like goes back to how your mother, all that stuff.
All goes back to the beginning.
Yeah. So but that's what I'm asking. So like,
yeah,
you've been out of that relationship for years now. But like, did you just like all of a sudden wake up one day, or like, do you think you still have got some of that inside?
I do think that I have that still. Like if Greg is upset with me, I immediately want to make it better. I'll do anything to make it better. But he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm with a guy now who no longer
punishes you and
who doesn't, and which is really hard for me to navigate, to be honest with you. Yeah. So when I'm doing something and I'm thinking, was this going to make Greg mad? He's not going to tell me. You know what I mean? He's like, if that's what you want to do, then you should just do that. And then I'd be like, oh, like, am I? So he doesn't control or manipulate me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Weird. So interesting.
I know. So do I still have it? Yes, but I'm just with a partner who doesn't use it as a weapon.
So if I want to manipulate you, I just need you to think that I'm mad at you, and then you'll kiss my ass and do things for me.
Yeah. So just remember that. So
interesting. That's like a very makes. I'm like, fuck. I can't believe that's what your life was for so long.
Yeah. Like, I think that I'm a little bit wiser to it now. And I think actually if a girlfriend did it to me, I think that I might now get angry.
Yeah.
And you'd
probably go the other way. I'm like, how dare you try to manipulate me?
You'll have to try it out, but possibly not.
When you least expect it.
You'll ask me for something ridiculous, and then when I refuse. Okay, so for instance, if a girlfriend says to me, "Hey, let's meet up, let's go on a trip, let's blah blah blah," and then I said, "Okay, let's do it," and then I had to cancel, and if she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so disappointed," I'd be like, "Okay, I'll do it." Like I will just make it work, so that she's not upset with me.
I do similar things to that too, though, like for sure. But so what in this same circumstance, now your girlfriend, instead of saying "I'm so disappointed," ignores your text messages. When you text her, she posts on Facebook a passive aggressive thing that knows about you. Yeah. And that's the abuse that I'm thinking of, right? Yeah. So like somebody's doing that kind of shit to you. That's when you're like, oh fuck, now I gotta like send her flowers and like would you go above and beyond to
I think I'm too old for that now. Like I think that's a young woman's thing, and I'd be like, oh, you fucking immature bitch. Yeah. Like if you're angry with me, please come and tell me. And, like, if I've done something to upset you, I'll just now say, Like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I'm sorry if I'm sorry if I'm upset you, right?
100%.
So if you're gonna do that passive aggressive Facebook thing, I'm probably gonna be like, we can't be friends.
I don't want to be friends with somebody that would do that.
Are we doing? Is this something that's happened?
No,
what did
it's
you do?
not. No, it's not. I'm just thinking.
What did you do now, Amanda?
If I had a friend that, well, back in my younger days, I'm sure I had that.
Yeah.
But like now, there's no way I would be friends with somebody who would
try to manipulate you.
Try to punish me or
yeah.
Like, that's crazy. I'm thinking like, do I do that to my kids? Like when they're bad, it's like, how does that work? No, because kids do need to be like punished and disciplined.
Shamed.
Oh my God, we're back to this.
Back to shame.
I'm just thinking of it in all aspects of relationships, right? Because it's friendships,
you
know, every kind of relationship. But no, I don't think that like shaming and punishing
friendships
to get
or
your
husbands
way is,
like how what is your relationship with Karsten in that way? Like if he upsets you, how do
we just talk about it? Like
we're
so fucking mature.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of it now, like as we stand today. Like I'm sure we've had our issues and we've grown up together, but nowadays, like we just literally like I'll be like, okay, we need to have a talk, and we'll just like sit down, or it'll be like laying in bed, or it'll be like across from each other at the kitchen island. Like one of us will be pissed off about something.
That whole we need to talk is like, I need to talk to you about something is always for me.
My
heart starts to beat a little faster whenever I hear that.
Sometimes we don't even really bother having the talk, because sometimes if he's annoying me about something, it's usually something in the moment. And if you have the conversation, then all the other weird shit, you're going to say things you don't mean. But if you just kind of sit on it for even a day, I'm like, I'm not actually even mad about that. So like, we haven't had a real issue, and I don't even know.
Have you ever been in a relationship where that happens, where you say, this bothers me about you, like, and I'm pretty good at communication when I say, this bothers me about you, like you did this and it bothers me, and they say, oh yeah, well remember 6 years ago when you did this and it hurt my feelings, and then you did this, and
Karsten does that actually. It makes me crazy. I'm like, okay, we could have talked about that 6 years ago, or even like later today, but at this moment we're talking about this thing. Like it's the defense. So that's what in our situation, and I don't know if he's gonna be happy with me sharing this, but he has a lot of like anxiety. He just has like, not anxiety, that's a terrible word, but residual shit from his childhood, because he always thought that like people around him were like talking to him like he's stupid. So he thinks that
they probably did.
And he thinks that he always has to like be on this defense now. So if somebody's coming at him, he's like, well, I'll hurt you too because you've hurt me. And it's the one thing that like he's aware of and we're aware of, and like now I know that he gets that way.
And it's interesting because you're the type of person to do the little bit of a poke.
Well,
right?
And it sucks because like I'll be upset with him about whatever it is, and then he'll bring up something else, and he'll be like coming at me, and I'm like, you're fucking coming for me, and like this is like, what? Like I'm not trying to hurt. And it's like we finally have realized, okay, well this is why you're doing it. So he's actively trying, and it's been so good. Like I don't know, it's not even
I used to do this because once again, my ex-husband used to do this to me all the time, and like I would say, okay, I need to talk to you about something. This is really bothering me. We need to talk about it. And he'd say, well, do you remember last month when you...
And I didn't say anything to you at that time.
When that guy felt your boobs in the bar. And I'd be like, okay, right now we're talking about, you sleeping in bed for 6 months and you need to get out of bed. We can talk about the boob situation afterwards. And so I say, so let's talk about this. And he'd be like, oh yeah, well, do you remember when? And I would have to do this for an hour of like, we're going to talk about that later. We'll table it.
That's so frustrating to talk to somebody like that way. You're like literally talking in circles.
In a circle. And he was so good. He was like a master fighter.
He's a master manipulator.
Yeah.
We've now gotten to the point where when we are finding that we're doing that running in circles thing, it's like, okay, we're not getting anywhere. This is stupid. And then we'll like take a break and come back like the next day or whatever later. It depends on the situation. And then we're both kind of like, okay, well,
in a different space.
I've thought about what we were just talking about. You're right. Like, good point or whatever, right? Like, I don't know. I'm so good at fighting.
Or so good at just being rational, because
that's what it is.
If it's all about, the problem I think is that we want them to see that we're right. And if you can be in a headspace of saying, well, they have some good points in this too. Like, let's really hear what they have to say.
And I think a lot of it is because he always like, you're treating me like I'm stupid or whatever. And I'm like, I can tell you right now, I don't think you're stupid. I never think you're stupid. I actually really respect you. I think you're one of the smartest people I know. One of my favorite things about you is that you're not stupid.
Yeah.
So if I'm making you feel that way, it's definitely not my intention. And like, let me know when I'm doing it because I will stop.
Yeah.
In addition to that, this is what you pissed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I'm sorry I made you feel stupid. Like, that's something I need to work on. It's like my tone and the way I talk to him. But he also receives it that way because he's used to, in his mind.
It's a trigger, right?
That's exactly what it is, right? It's a trigger,
and we all have a trigger. Like,
totally.
That's not my trigger. So that's definitely Karsten's trigger, right? To be small, to be treated that way. And you just have to... He just needs to do that self-talk, right? To know that he needs to say, when Amanda's talking to me this way, is she intentionally trying to make me feel small like a...
And the thing is, back when I was younger, I actually would try to make people feel small.
Oh, it's like, your superpower.
That would be the way I would fight because I'm like, I'm going to tell you that you're stupid because it's mostly with my ex and probably a little bit with Karsten because I was still fucking immature back then, but be like, okay, you're a fucking idiot for the following reasons, and I want you to know that because I think that you suck. Like, that would be the way I fight. Whereas now, if Karsten and I are in an argument, I don't think he sucks. I don't think he's an idiot. So if I'm making him feel that way, that's like me using the wrong words or
you might be wanting to hurt him at the time. Like, do you do that?
No. The way that we fight now, I definitely don't. Like, I don't want to hurt him. Like, he's my favorite person in the world. Why would I want...
I thought I was your favorite person.
You're second.
Asshole.
But it's like, would you ever want to like hurt your kids like intentionally? Like, you're gaining so much weight or you look like a fat piece of shit to your daughter or something.
Oh, wait a minute. My mother did that to me. So
but, a different, but it's like,
but not,
when you have this love for somebody, like, yes,
you don't want to hurt
He pisses me off sometimes. And I'm like, fucking get out of here. Like, sometimes I'll roll my eyes at him or something. Actually, I try not to even do that. Cause I'm just like, if he's just, it just depends on the situation. Right. But I'm never gonna like intentionally try to like say something to like...
I think the point is that we're saying, and to wrap this up, is that we all have a trigger. We all have triggers. And as a partner of somebody who you know what their trigger is, don't push that button if you love them. Yeah, totally. You know?
And you also have to take ownership of your own triggers, for sure.
Yes, and that is a huge takeaway.
Yeah. So, Karsten is now... Because we got into just enough of these things where it's like, I'm not trying to fucking hurt you. I just want... And, like, we're trying to talk about, issue A, and you're bringing up all this other shit, and you're telling me I suck for all these reasons. And I'm like... We finally are... I'm like, you're just trying to hurt me because you feel hurt. Like, stop. So he's actually...
It is learning to communicate, and I think as we get older... I mean, you look at kids, they don't know how to fight at all. They just throw things at each other. And as we get older and more mature, that's the thing. It's just to pinpoint the issue... This makes me feel sad. This makes me feel hurt. And the other person, on the other hand, needs to say, I'm sorry, I won't do it again.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally. Yeah. 100%. Like, I don't mean to make you feel like shit. Like, how can we move on from here?
Yeah.
Because there's lots of people that are probably in unhealthy marriages or relationships or even friendships where they're like, I actually don't care that I hurt your feelings.
Oh, that is absolutely true.
Because you pissed me off or whatever. And I'm like, if you're seriously thinking that,
then you need to get out of that relationship.
You got deep issues with the relationship.
That's when the relationship stops working. And being in a relationship that happened, I can tell you that once that starts to happen and you enjoy the fact that you've got them back or now you've hurt them,
you're like,
your relationship is over. It's over.
Even like honestly with a friendship, like if I don't know, canceled on me and I was mad at you about it. And then, I don't know, I said something mean and I'm like, you're such a piece of shit. You always cancel or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm glad I hurt her feelings. Like, that's a fucked up friendship.
Oh, it is
like,
too.
You cannot treat humans like that. Like, anybody that you care about, you should not be trying to hurt them.
No, your friends, your children, your spouse, like it is.
Yeah.
We're so mature.
I know.
Okay, should we wrap this up? Because we've got a wine and what the fuck.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Time for our favorite segment, wine and what the fuck.
What the fuck? This is the part of the show where we scour the internet. We find the things that make us go, what the fuck? So, Monica.
Yeah.
Oh.
First, we're going to do the wine.
We always open a bottle of wine. And
so today we opened up this wine called L50, 2018 Latitude 50 Red.
Just a red? Like it's not a...
That's what it says, a red.
Oh, okay. A blend. Nice blend. How much was this one?
I know it was on sale, so I'm thinking maybe it was like $12. You know, let's try it.
Give it a try.
Oh, speaking of wine, like the last wine thing we did, oh my God, Amanda, I was hungover
Cheers.
for 2 days.
I gotta tell you, that was, oh.
Hmm.
Oh, this is from Grey Monk?
Yeah.
I went to Grey Monk Winery, I think. It's fine. It smells cheap.
It tastes cheap.
Like when you smell it,
It smells, okay,
it smells like it's burning the inside of my nose.
Okay, do you notice like this is the first time we've opened up a bottle of wine and we're silent.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I've had my first sip, and so the reviews are
Yeah.
smells cheap. I've got this burning taste down my throat.
Yeah, no, this is fine. I'll drink it, but I would never buy it.
Like this would be good wine for making, like if you have to make some kind of sauce and it calls
Ooh,
for red.
Cooking wine.
A cooking wine, but do not buy the L50 for a wine to impress your girlfriends, because I haven't impressed Amanda at all with this wine, have I?
No.
Or is this because this is the last thing we've drank since that $80 bottle of wine that
Well,
we drank,
true.
right?
We did anybody who hasn't watched our last wine tasting video, we had the husbands and we did 5 bottles of wine to compare them all. One of them was 80. I think everybody liked the $59 bottle the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing in Amarone.
Yeah. It was good. But yeah, it was because after the wine,
Yeah.
I was a drink pusher.
Ugh.
I've been making cocktails and I was just obsessed. I made so many cocktails and you were like obviously drunk. I could see it in your eyes and I just kept giving you booze. Like, what is wrong
And
with
I
you?
kept on drinking the booze. And it's like every time my glass was empty, I'm like, where the fuck's another drink, Amanda?
But you would even say, you're like, I'm good. And I'm like, are you sure? And I would like hand you a whiskey sour or something. And it's mostly for me. I just wanted to keep making
And
them.
it was like, that was one of those 2-day hangover. Like the first day was so bad.
I couldn't function that day.
And Greg was like, we need to go get my car. And I'm like, I don't even know if I can.
I was wondering how, because I had to go out and do a play date and all this stuff
Can't
that day.
believe you did that.
But when I came home and saw your car wasn't there, I was like, because we live pretty far from each other. It's like a 40-minute drive. Like, so you guys, I would not have been able to drive that long. There's no way I would have been able to.
Oh, it was awful. Like Greg was throwing up in
Was
the
he?
morning. It was
Oh,
like he was even sicker than I was.
Was he?
Yeah.
Maybe it was the apple juice I gave him. Is that what made him throw up?
No, it was the alcohol you gave him. Like it was. We have not together as a couple been that drunk in a really long time. And you know, we knew we were gonna get drunk. Like first of all, we had 5 bottles of wine, and even then, I'm thinking, okay. So I'm thinking as I'm calculating, this is a 1-day hangover, and I'm thinking, and I'm actually saying, I just don't want a 2-day hangover, and for sure, you brought out the 2 days.
I don't know what. Like, it's because I'm having so much fun making these cocktails. I'm just like, I want to keep making them. Somebody needs to drink them, and like it got out of hand.
And Amanda's got this this was not a segue, but here we go. She's got this. You've got a YouTube channel on mixing cocktails.
We do, yeah. Karsten and I started one. It's called The Social Barware. Check it out on YouTube. And it's just us making cocktails, essentially.
And Amanda made me a cocktail with an egg, and I was like, what? I was totally prepared to go, oh my God, this is disgusting. And I would have told you it was disgusting because that's the kind of friend I am.
Yeah.
But it was like, holy fuck, I can't believe how good this is. Right? That was
Honestly,
a whiskey sour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I made like New York sours. Like I was making margaritas. I forgot to make you espresso martinis. I was making those on Friday night. It was seriously the best thing in the world. It's like probably my signature drink now, and I forgot to make them.
And you know what? Here's the worst thing. When I have you over, because I'm going to return the favor, there's no way I can compete with that. It's going to be
it's
like,
not about competition.
look, we're having chicken wings.
It's not competition. It's like I wasn't doing it to impress you. Like this is just who I am.
You did. Oh, but you did.
Well, you know, It's always best when you impress someone when you're not trying.
Oh, when they're like, I just wish I could be more like Amanda.
It's honestly, it's my own crazy selfishness. Like I was at the neighbors the other day and I like brought over stuff to make cocktails because I'm just obsessed with it. I think it's so fun. It's my favorite.
Well, it's fun. It's cool because often when you go to a bar and you order something, you're like, meh, or do I want to spend $12 on a drink? That's the way that I think.
That's kind of the tagline of our YouTube channel. We want to show people that cocktails don't have to be complicated and they don't have to cost $15.
Because I can't. I won't. I'll just go and I'll order like a Crown and Coke or something because I'm not spending $15 on
like
drink.
they go down so fast.
I
because they're
know.
like 3 ounces usually.
It's like that because you can go out for dinner and it can cost you $100 in drinks, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Anyway, should we what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because
what do you got today?
Carry on we go.
Here we go.
I think you'll like this one.
I always like what you have for me.
Do. All right, this is an Am I the Asshole? So am I the asshole for getting mad that my oldest son didn't let my youngest win a game?
Okay.
All right. I have 4 kids. Only 2 are relevant to the story. My 10-year-old son, will call him Jack. An 8-year-old son, will call him Tony. They were playing Mario Karts with each other on their 3DSs. Do you know what that is?
No.
Anyways.
Maybe like Game Boys?
Anyways, my oldest son knows to let the youngest one win.
What the fuck?
Otherwise, he'll throw a tantrum. The boys swapped DSs because Tony needs to be charged, and Jack didn't really feel like moving from his spot. Like I said, Jack knows to let Tony win, but for some reason, he didn't this time. And Tony started his usual I didn't win tantrum and threw Jack's 3DSs across the room. The console broke, the top screen came off the bottom, and the buttons are unresponsive. Jack was upset, and that's why I got mad at him. He had been told repeatedly to let Tony to win to avoid his tantrums.
That poor 10-year-old. I feel bad for him.
My husband and my 2 girls, 16 and 17, are saying that I should make Tony give Jack his 3DS, but I think it's Jack's own fault for giving him one and then not letting him coming in first place. Jack is refusing to share anything with Jack. And that doesn't make sense. Had been hardly spoken to me in days. So Jack's hardly spoken to me in days.
That's the 10-year-old.
So I'm left to deal with the constant tantrums on my own. Am I the asshole?
Yes.
Edit.
You deserve it. You're a fucking idiot.
Edit. Can you guys please stop messaging me with death threats?
Okay. I gotta say, I hope that this is one of the ones. I think people just post on Reddit. Sometimes they make shit up.
No, I don't think so, because then there was like a repost to this where she actually commented and thanked people for responding.
It's insane to actually go through your life and think that is a good way to parent. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
And the fact that she thinks that she's in the right there.
The fact that you're letting, like, I get it. He's your baby. Like, we let Kenna get away with more stuff because she's a baby, but she's also 4.
Yeah.
But also, if she's acting like a complete dick and having a tantrum, we're not okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between he's my baby and, like, let him win, now I'm forced to deal with tantrums. Are you kidding? My kid has 1 tantrum about his DS. It is gone.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way. Let him win. Like, that's setting him up for, like, that's the whole participation medal thing conversation.
Ugh.
Kids are not, like, you have to know it's okay to lose. That 10-year-old, I feel very sorry for him. Like, that poor boy is going to have so many issues regarding his mother and, like...
And letting his little brother win, and is like, for some reason, he didn't want to let him win. Of course he didn't, because he's a child, too, and he wants to win. And so now he's got this broken toy that he loves, and his brother who throws tantrums gets to keep his. Like, poor parenting.
So the tantrum kid threw it across the room and broke it. So now the 10-year-old doesn't even have a toy to play with.
Right. And so they're saying that he, like the other people in the family, the 2 older siblings were saying, you need to make sure that tantrum kid gives his DS to the other one. And she's like, well, no, because then he'll throw another temper tantrum.
They're like, what else does she do to the 10-year-old to make him feel like shit? Like, there's no way that that's the only thing. That hurts my heart. Like, that poor kid.
Yeah.
Like, your brother gets whatever he wants and you just have to, you're like his slave. So
Well,
whatever
it sounds to me like that this woman just wants to avoid the tantrum at any cost to the other children.
Nobody wants their kid to have a tantrum.
No.
But let me tell you something. They will keep having tantrums if you let them have tantrums.
They're like little controlling, manipulative beasts.
I have two friends who have, as adults, told me that their parents let them get away with tantrums. So they did them. Like, both girls that I know said, they're like, I have vivid memories of knowing that if I did it, I would get my way. So I would lose my shit in the store. I would lose my shit everywhere.
Do you think that you become a Karen when that happens? Like you see women and you see people posting videos of Karens on the YouTube or whatever, and you're thinking on the YouTube.
Aged yourself.
I know. And you wonder, is it just because people have always given in to these people that they always get their way?
Yeah.
They were daddy's princess. They threw a temper tantrum and they just like, oh, well, we'll get them what they want. Like, is it that? Is it this self-indulgent, my opinion, my everything is worth way more, and then you're creating a fucking monster?
You're creating 100%. You're creating a monster. Like, it's okay to like let your kid win. Very rarely. We don't really let our kids win. But it's sometimes you can just tell. Like, I know sometimes Colton's just not in the right mood. I'm like, whatever. I'll just like, mostly because I just want the game to end or something, right? I'll let him win. But it's not because I don't want him to have a tantrum. Like, if that kid had a tantrum over losing, we're not playing anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry about your luck, kid. Like, you just lost your chance to play.
And then it becomes, do you remember last time we played and you had a temper tantrum? Like, like I found with my kids, because Amanda was a temper tantrum Nazi. Like, she was throwing, like, 3 or 4 years old.
Sometimes did you just let her do it? Because you're like, fuck, I don't have it in me right now to discipline you.
What really worked for her was setting expectations wherever we went.
Oh, ahead of time?
So, like, I remember one time we walk into a video store back when you could still rent videos, and she would say, I want to rent Snow White. Well, we're not renting Snow White today. Then it's like full on temper tantrum on the floor. Then you have to pick her up and like haul her outside. So the next time I'd say, we're going into that video store and we're not going to rent a movie today. And if you do throw a temper tantrum, then these are the steps that I'm going to take. We're going to leave the store. There's going to be no friend over today. Like, just very simple steps. Yeah. And then if it happened, you have to follow through 100%. On your steps. Yeah. But honestly, just letting knowing expectations before we head into the store usually worked.
And I think you're right about you actually have to follow through, because it's really easy to be like, if you don't put your shoes on, we're not going, or whatever, right? Stop screwing around. Like, if you don't want to actually go to your friend's house, you need to go get dressed right now. And then they don't get dressed right now. And then I'm thinking, well, I still want to go to the friend's house because I need to get out of this house. So you go anyways. And then it's like, oh, well, I just lost all my accountability.
Well, you just have to make what it is that you're saying true.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't say, well, we're not going. Yeah. You're going to say, well, then tonight when we get home, like, if you can't get your shit together today, then when you want to go play in the park, it's going to be like, we can't go play in the park because it's going to take me 6 years to put my shoes on. Like, I don't know.
The idea of my kid having a tantrum that's the worst. And I know when I was a kid, me and my sister never had tantrums ever. Like, my mom says this, and I think she's legit, because I don't remember ever losing my shit. And like, we were both just girls and we kind of coasted through life, but we also had the fear of, if we lose our shit in the store, we will get like, my mom will lose her mind on us. Like, and it's not worth it. Like, and
like, could you actually remember having that thought?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's hard to remember how I felt. I just know I definitely was scared of her. Like, she would have like this snap, and or like she would just like clap her hands, and you're like, okay, whatever we're doing, we got to stop what we're doing, right? And like, it reminds me. So a friend, like the hating to lose thing. We were in the summer. We were hanging out with some friends, and the kids were playing soccer, and the boy ended up like losing or whatever, right? He just wasn't happy about the game. And my friend, the mom, is like, okay, well, we already talked about this, like, you can't lose your shit every time that you lose. Like, people are gonna lose sometime, whatever. And he was just having a tantrum, and he was 8 years old. She grabbed him. They walked back we were all staying in a condo. She walked back, and it sucks for her. Like, we're all drinking in the park.
But you
having
have
fun.
to.
And she's like, fuck, this really sucks. We're like
This
at the beach.
parenting stuff is bullshit.
Yeah. And she's like, well, I guess it is what it is. Like, I told him we were going to leave if he had a tantrum. So sure enough, they did. And they went back to the condo. And of course, then we're all like, oh, fuck, we kind of wish you were here. So she like had a long talk with him at the condo, blah, blah, blah. And they eventually came back. But it's like, I'm glad that she did that because it just it shows all the other kids around too. Like, my kids were watching that, her other kid was watching, and it's like, we mean business. Like, you can't just act like an asshole and get away with it.
Yeah, but you know what? An 8-year-old really doesn't have a whole lot of self-control over their emotions, and this is something that you need to realize. You can't let them get away with it, meaning, you know, like, if they're in a situation at home and they don't like what's going on and they throw a tantrum, I would say something like, I put them in the room and I'd say, you can sit in here until you've calmed down. It's okay to be angry. Like, it's okay to be angry, but this isn't okay.
Totally.
You know, like, you can be angry if you want to, and you can say, I feel really angry. Like, express yourself with words. But, like, I don't know, like, some kids just have this so much emotion. And I don't think that just saying, don't do it is enough.
Yeah.
But this, like, your kids are at that age. Do they throw temper tantrums?
Not out in public, but to be fair, we don't really go out very much anymore.
Especially now.
I have one memory, though, of we went to Walmart because we had to get, like, a present for one of their friends.
Yeah.
That's a rookie mom mistake. Like, you do that when the kids aren't with you.
Yeah.
But I happen to have them with me, so I'm like, okay, because I know you've said it before and I've taken it to heart. Like, you give them expectations ahead of time. So in the car, I'm like, we're going to Walmart. We're going to be in the toy section.
And I'm not buying you a toy.
We're buying toys for whatever friend's birthday party we're going to.
Yeah.
We're not buying toys for you guys. So you guys will be there in the cart. They were, like, quite a bit younger, too. So they're both sitting in the cart. And, like, no losing your mind, or, you know, we're not going to go to the party, that was bad. I shouldn't have said that. But anyways, so we're in the store.
I won't feed you all day.
Yeah, no food. So Kenna's sitting there, and she's, like, little at the time in the cars, in the stroller. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Colton decides he wants something. Starts, like, freaking out in the store. So I just, like, you know, we just left. I ended up not buying the toy because I'm like, we're not fucking, but we ended up at the party. I just bought something later, so not the best. But anyway, it was like, that's the only time I can think of that he had a tantrum in a store, because it's just not, I try not to bring them to stores. My kids have tantrums at home. And
do you know any people that let their kids have tantrums and the result of that? Like,
none of my good friends that I, like, interact with when they parent daily, but I bet I do know. I can think of somebody who I bet does.
And it makes you lose your mind when you're with them.
It makes me lose respect for them as a human. And mostly because, like I said, I've got 2 adult friends who were like, my parents let me do this shit, and I remember that I was able to manipulate my parents.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's an insane thing to have a memory of when you're like 3 or 4, being like, if I lose my shit, I'm going to end up getting what I want.
I remember when I was growing up with my kids, and we used to hang out, this huge friend group, and there was this one particular woman who had this child, and he was constantly misbehaving, and she was constantly saying, if you do this one more time, we're leaving, because we were generally at the beach, and she'd never leave, and she'd keep making that threat over and over. And then he started doing things like 7 years old, he'd start hitting her. Do you know what I mean? And then she'd say, now, you stop that. And same thing, if you do that one more time, do you remember when I'm going to take away? And then he would just keep doing it, and she never followed through on her consequences. He became the biggest asshole he's the same age as my son now at 20. Biggest fucking asshole ever.
Because he knows how easy it is to manipulate people. Like,
and he has no respect for his mom. Like, it's interesting. I don't know if that's always the way, or maybe these signs of him mistreating his mom at 7 were maybe just his shit personality. But he's estranged from his mom, has no respect for her. And
I, for sure, it's, when I see, like, a kid hitting or biting their parents, I'm like, that would happen one time.
Yeah.
And one time only in my house. Like,
I
for
would
sure.
lose my mind.
Like
even the words, like, I remember Johnny went through a I hate you phase when he was quite young. And you just needed to treat it like any other swear word.
100%.
Like, that's the way
we don't say that in this house.
I didn't react. I would just say, we don't say that word in our house. You know, like
Totally.
if you feel that way, that's okay.
Yeah.
But we don't use that word, just like we don't say "fuck you, mom."
Yeah,
Like
100%.
like it's
Yeah.
funny. Like, what age do you let your kids swear?
I actually, it's so
there.
funny because
Yeah.
I think that sometimes too, because I don't want my kids going around swearing. Like,
No,
they're
you
too
don't.
little.
It sounds
But
ridiculous.
what a hypocrite am I, because I swear so much.
I know.
So, you know, if they use it in the right context and they're not calling somebody an asshole, I'm like, I don't know. My kids are 4 and 6. They're
I
not
know.
swearing right now. But, like, if they get a little older and they just, like, aren't. If you're not being a dick and you're just using it in a sentence,
I don't think that you should punish your kids for swearing. I think
No.
that they just need to be taught, and what, like we say, you know, we don't swear because it's impolite, it's rude, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember Johnny coming home from school and like I'm talking like he's 9 years old, and he says a swear word, and I would say, okay, we don't
Yeah.
swear, but I'll tell you what, if you want to go into your room and swear, you close the door, you have 15 minutes to say all the swear words you want. And I remember how funny it was to hear him shouting, shit, poop, bum, like you know what I
funny.
remember?
You
Like,
gotta videotape that. Like, there's too bad
That-
that back in the day, like,
Yeah.
you didn't have cameras.
well, we did have, but it would have been
wasn't
like,
as
it would have been
easy.
the big
Yeah.
old camera
You're
like this.
Okay, hold that while I get the camera set
Yeah,
up.
like so
That's
funny.
so funny.
But if you, once again, if you give them an outlet for it, like it's
Yeah.
not like, because kids love to do anything that you're not allowed to do,
Yeah.
and so do we.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
anything that's
totally.
taboo, you're like,
Yeah.
like drinking. Like
Yeah.
kids want to drink because it's bad and
Yeah.
it's adult.
Although,
Yeah.
years ago, Karsten and I went to this couple's house that we didn't know. We were with Karsten's mom, I think, for some reason. I think we were staying at their house, like out at some farm. I don't know why we were there. But we spent the night, and they had, I think, maybe a 6 or 7-year-old boy and like a 9-year-old daughter. So we're there for dinner. And the boy was like just so cool because they lived on a farm. Like, he's like driving a quad. Karsten's on the
Yeah.
back. Like, it was just like, it was
Wow.
like weird. We're like this 9-year, 6, 8-year-old boy, whatever he
Yeah.
was, like driving. We're like, this is weird. I feel like it should be opposite. But this kid was just like the parents kind of gave them freedom to do
Yeah.
their thing. And then
Yeah.
we sit down at dinner and everybody's having their beer or whatever. And the son's like, Dad, can I have some of your beer? And he's like, yeah. Poured him like this
Yeah.
much in a glass.
I would do the same thing.
100%. And I looked
Yeah.
at that and I was like, I have so much respect for your parenting because I can see the way it's working. And this boy, he wasn't like just like a rowdy boy. He was also like an 8-year-old boy. Like, he would like cuddle us on the couch. He was also like very like sweet and amazing. Like, I wonder where he is now. Like, he's probably like such a perfect human. Like,
You don't know, but it
No.
would be interesting to see.
it would be interesting. But so I've kind of always taken that, and like we drink wine and beer and stuff at home all the time.
Let them have a sip. It's not gonna kill them.
I did.
Might even put them to sleep.
One sip's not gonna do
Yeah.
anything. But Colton's like, he's always like so proud. He's like, I've had beer before. I've had wine before. Actually, I don't think he's had wine, but he's had beer for sure. He had a sip of it, and he thought it was disgusting and
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I don't want it to be a taboo thing because it
Yeah.
was kind of taboo in my life. My parents just didn't drink, and it wasn't like they just.
So my dad had a still
What's a
in the
still?
basement, like when you make your own moonshine.
Oh.
So we had a still in the basement, and we had so much booze free flowing all the time. Like, we just had liters and liters of booze.
And he probably didn't notice if any went missing.
And we were European, right? So
Yeah.
European families, kids,
Yeah.
like, nobody cares about drinking.
Yeah.
And we didn't care about drinking. Like,
Yeah.
it was always there. If you want to drink, it's in the cupboard.
So you didn't have to sneak it.
No,
Yes.
it's like water.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
went through a phase where my parents used to drink and then they just kind of like stopped drinking. But my dad still had a box of hard liquor in the basement.
Yeah.
So I was 14 and I found it and I was like, fuck yeah. And I did the whole like steal some, water it down. I didn't have to water it down.
Yeah.
They didn't even know it was there. Like, it was such a waste of watering it down.
It's a waste of water.
I just destroyed whatever booze was in there because
Yeah.
I could have taken it and they wouldn't have even noticed it was gone. But anyways, that was my 14-year-old brain. But I went through a phase where I was obsessed with it. I would like pour it in Gatorade bottles and like I would go to the mall with my friends.
Weird.
And like me and my friends would go to the mall and like drink alcohol and get like really drunk at 14, 15 years old and like steal from Zellers. And like we thought we were like so cool
Yeah.
getting drunk
Yeah,
because
yeah.
drinking was so forbidden.
It's bad, yeah.
And I'm like, if we, in my house, drinking isn't forbidden. Drinking is But you could go the other way too. The kids could see it so much they wanted. I think it maybe depends on the kid how they're going to behave.
Alcohol is a funny thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there has to have some genetic components to alcoholism there.
Yeah.
There's trauma responses, whatever.
Yeah.
But in my situation, things that were because we were allowed, it just didn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the same thing. Like, and if you want to apply that to your children, like if you are allowed to swear in, like, okay, this is the place where we can swear.
Yeah.
Go to your room and swear as much as you want for 15 minutes. It's just like we don't ever do this. Then you're like, oh, like remember that time I told you my mom said I was never supposed to have sex?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm 12 and I'm going to try it because you said no.
That's exactly right.
You know?
If something is, you hear the stories all the time. If something's super off limits, it's the first thing that you have to rebel.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to want freedom. And I think that's what it is. And when we feel like we're not free, we want that. We want whatever we're not allowed.
Funny story about that, the box and the watering it down. Because literally my parents don't drink ever. So this box got a bunch of watered down vodka or whatever the hell was in there at the time. And it sat there until like forever. Like it's still there. So Karsten and I go over for dinner, I don't know, let's say 7 years ago. And they're like, oh, do you guys want like Caesars or something?
No.
We have vodka in the basement.
It's your watered down vodka.
And I had told Karsten this story, obviously, right? Like, that's how little my parents drink.
Like, that bottle's still downstairs.
From when I was 14 years old. So I was like, from the basement, like the box in the basement, and Karsten's picking up on it. He's like, the box that you watered down. And I was like, shut up. And my parents are like, what? Like, this is like more than...
How many people? I guess they probably don't serve alcohol to their friends either.
They don't. Like, they're just not drinkers. They don't even really entertain, like, ever. So
I bet it's still there, even though you told them it's
now
hot
they
water.
know. And they were, like, giggling about it at the time because it had been, like, 12 years since it happened or whatever. But how funny, like, they bring it up.
You owe me a bottle, Amanda.
Totally.
You wrecked my booze.
I don't know.
So
like,
funny.
Who keeps, like, booze in a box anyways?
Anyways, let's wrap this sucker up.
Thanks for tuning in to the It's Really None of Our Business podcast
With Monica and Amanda.
You can follow us on Instagram, We have a Facebook group and it's bumping.
It is. If you want to see the weird shit we talk about, because we talk about weird shit and we try to post the craziest things we can find on our Facebook.
And we love when you guys comment on it. Like, we've seen some pretty interesting conversations on that group.
We have.
It's fun, yeah.
It's fun. So come and join us and be part of our group and engage with us.
Yeah, we love it. And then go to the YouTube channel. You can subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of the videos and hit the little bell notification. It'll let you know when we post new stuff because I'm posting videos all the time.
Check out our transvestite. Transvestite?
You're going to get canceled. You can't use that word.
Oh, I can't?
No, it's trans or...
it's a cross-dressing one.
The video she's talking about is the cross-dressing one. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to It's Really None of Our Business podcast with Monica and Amanda. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you know all the places. If you've enjoyed this podcast, tell your friends, and please rate and review us where you can. If you are brave enough to reach out and ask us for advice, we will definitely read it out on our show. We'll totally keep your name anonymous, so what do you got to lose? You can reach us by email at ask.noneofourbusiness@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing from you guys soon. Ciao.